Oh, oh, what a line that is. What a line. That like sums up what's going on here, doesn't it? In one line. In other words, everyone, and welcome back to the channel. Today it is Oliver Anthony. I've got to get sober. Let's get straight into it.
Well, the life we've been given and the way we've been living, just a song that we write till we die. Now some people write songs on living just right, but I write mine on just getting by.
Oh, that's a lush start to this song. Because it's so real, because it's so authentic. You know, sometimes when you see songs that are written out there, that come out, they're tokenistic and they're made for commercial purposes, and so they follow a particular formula, and because of that they've got no soul to them. And here's a fella saying, look, there might be songs out there that are written for people that are doing just fine, but me, I'm just trying to get by. You know, in the other videos that I've had, man, I've been pelted by some of the people that are supporters of Oliver Anthony, and they make assumptions about me. They make assumptions about, you know, they see the word professor, they see that I work in academia, and they assume that I come from a certain past or certain history. What they don't realize is I come from a past that's probably very similar to their own. And I got lucky, right? Do you know how I got lucky? I went to a church school. Bet you didn't think that, right? Bet you didn't think that this academic here went to a church school. And because I went to a church school, one, I learned about how to hold myself as a human being. My granddad was a Presbyterian minister. But not only that, but I went to a school where there were not a lot of people, and because there were not a lot of people there, I managed to be trained pretty well in how to think. And it's because of that start that I ended up moving into academia, despite the fact that I lived in a place that was poor. Now, like, that's followed me around. And when he says, you know, some people might write about how their lives are just writing other people, you know, and he's writing about how he's just trying to get by. To be honest with you, that's how I feel most of the time. I'm just trying to get by. I'm just trying to keep going. I'm just sort of like waking up with the slog of it sometimes. I'm just trying to keep going. And so, and that's me being real with you and being authentic with you. And like when we see music like that, we connect to it, right? Because this guy's sat down, he's got his iPhone on portrait, and he's singing about what's real and what resonates with people. And there's something really cool about that. There's no sort of like pretense with this guy. This is all real. And it's brave, right? It's brave to be writing a song like this. I've got to get sober. Plenty of people that I know, including family members, have had their problems with alcohol, and it comes with shame. People hide it away. People don't want to talk about it, and the reason for that is because people that rely on alcohol are often viewed as weak, that they're using alcohol as a crutch, and they're viewed as weak by human beings that don't understand what real life is like often, and how sometimes it feels as though the only way to get by is to numb out that pain that comes from the way the world is, or from one's life. Nevertheless, it often comes with shame, and people feel shame to talk about this stuff, and yet here he is singing a song about it. Like, this is brave, and it's connecting. It's like giving people that are listening out there that are struggling and drinking the nights away someone that says, look, you're pretty normal for doing that, don't get me wrong, like, it's not going to be that useful for you going forward. It's going to probably impact how productive you are, how you relate to people, what your physical health is like. But is it an understandable way to deal with the life that we're living sometimes? Well, yeah, it's absolutely understandable. All right, I've talked for ages there. I'm going to keep going.
I'll go on the whim, start writing the hymn that sounds so sweet. But the troubles and the sin of the world that we're in knock me back off my feet.
So here he's saying things are going on around him that are impacting what's going on in his head. It's a brilliant contextual view of our mind. Too many people with mental health issues, they place abnormality within a person as if they're deficient in some way without really appreciating context. And he's like tipping that on his head, right? He's saying, look, the things that are going on around me, they knock me back. And then the question is, right, how do you deal with that? When you get knocked back, when you're feeling hopeless and helpless and down and like trapped, like there are no options for you, then like how do you get by? What's your mechanism for getting by? And I assume it is drinking.
I gotta get sober. I gotta start living right. And I don't know how it's gonna go, but it ain't gonna happen tonight. So pour 'em down strong till I drown. And if I wake up tomorrow when that sun comes back around, I'll be wishing I was sober.
And if I wake up tomorrow, if I wake up tomorrow, there's two things that jump out to me about that. One is, I think he understands that the alcohol can lead us in an unhealthy direction, and because of that, there's no guarantee that one is going to wake up in the next morning. But also, I think there's probably a humility here with reference to God, right? As in, with reference to the idea that it is totally within God's power as to whether one wakes up the next day. So there's a humility, there's like a bowing, there's a praise and an understanding of where power is at when he uses the word if there. Not when I wake up tomorrow, but if I wake up, because that's not within my control. So I think that that's probably got religious undertones. There's something about like the way that he's singing. Yeah, there's a realness and an authenticity. There's like the way that he's singing, he's almost like the sounds that are coming out of his mouth they map onto the words of the song. There's a soul to it. There's a crying feel to it. There's a wailing, that's it. There's an anguish or a wailing feel to the way that he's singing that really maps onto the lyrics really well and makes this feel more real, more authentic.
Well, the liquor and the bowl, they've been saving my soul from the pain that the world's put on me.
Oh, what a line that is. What a line. That like sums up what's going on here, doesn't it? In one line. In other words, the world is structured in such a way that it causes him pain. He doesn't want to have the pain, and one way to numb that pain is to drink alcohol. There's an awareness here, right? A lot of people don't have that awareness. They just find themselves in, without too much consciousness, dealing with issues in unhelpful ways. Like, I've got this pain, I don't want this pain, I'm going to do this thing to take away this pain. But he knows exactly what's going on here. And that's the reason he's got to get sober. He knows that the way that he's dealing with the pain that the world is causing him isn't a functional way to deal with it. He's got to do something else. And in fact, probably part of his advocacy, part of his reason for his music is to try and instigate change in the world. This is another way of trying to deal with this inner pain. It's just a more functional way of doing that. It's a great line.
Lord, I know that upstairs there's an old man who cares, and one day he'll set me free. I'll go on the whim, start writing a hymn that sounds so sweet. But the troubles and the sin of the world that we're in knock me back off my feet. I gotta get sober, I gotta start living right. And I don't know how it's gonna go, but it ain't gonna happen tonight. So pour 'em down strong till I drown. And if I wake up tomorrow when that sun comes back around, I'll be wishing I was sober. Well, the life we've been given and the way we've been living, just a song that we write till we die.
Look at that. He's just a dude sat down in the forest, playing his guitar and singing. No special equipment, no auto-tune, none of that stuff. It's music for a purpose, this, right? It's not just music for the sake of music. I think the other thing that popped out to me is in the last song, I Want to Go Home. I think it was that song. It might be in Richmond, north of Richmond, I'm not sure, but he talked about cussing himself and being angry with himself. And I assume that one of the reasons why he would get angry at himself is because he sees that he's sort of, or has been, using alcohol to get by, and he'll feel ashamed by that. Despite the fact, from my perspective, it's a perfectly understandable way of trying to numb pain and trying to deal with sort of like what's going on around it. If there are people out there that are relying on alcohol too much, look, it's not going to be good for your health, and it's not going to be good for your psychological health. But is it understandable? Yeah, so give yourself a break. Do you know what I mean? Have a little bit of self-compassion there, because we're all just trying to get by, I think, especially those of us that are in more restrictive contexts. I think the other thing that I didn't pick up on earlier on is there's something interesting here, isn't there, with his relationship to God. And of course, I wonder at what point God and his relationship with God inspired him to stop drinking. Like earlier on, I made an assumption, right? And the assumption was this: look, there are different ways to deal with the pain that the world is giving us. And I think he's now, instead of dealing with the pain by drinking, he's now dealing with it by being an advocate for change and trying to instigate change in society. But I think probably one of the other things that that changed his behavior, or maybe the most important thing that changed his behavior, would have been developing a relationship with God. And that would have been such a hard process for him, to be able to feel shame in the eyes of God at the way one is living one's life, and, for example, relying on alcohol. But I'm assuming that, he felt God's love. And lack of scorn, lack of blame, to be able to still take steps forwards, despite having felt that shame. You know, there must have been so much going on for him. It's a cool song. Is it a sad song? Like, I'm sad for him. I'm sad that he went through that period, and obviously he's not in that period now. But I'm sad that he had that, because it represents the struggle that a lot of people will have out there. It's certainly pensive. You know, it's pensive. It's made me feel pensive. The song has. But most of all, I think it gives me the opportunity to normalize how we deal with pain. I think it's so easy to judge people and to paint them as being a certain way because of the way that they deal with the things that are going on around them. And we so easily will throw labels like weak at people without fully understanding that they've had a shed load of pain and they're just trying to deal with it in some way. And this is just the way that they fell into, you know, having using alcohol. And it could look like a lot of different things. Like, do we judge drug users? Well, yeah, but this is just their way of trying to deal with the pain in the absence of any sort of like real professional help. Some people are more functional at dealing with their pain, right? They'll go running. They'll do something that is good for their physical health to deal with the pain, but it's the same thing. It's all just like all of us just trying to figure out how to deal with the pain. And so, you know, if you have dealt with the pain in dysfunctional ways out there, then give yourself a break, because you're just a human being. All right. Enjoyed it. Loved seeing him natural, singing that song, being real with people, leading the way in having people talk about this stuff. It's good stuff. All right, take care, everyone, and hopefully see you again. Bye bye.